Welcome to another episode of the Mr. Therapist Podcast. My name is Manny Romero. I'm your host. I'm Mr. Therapist. I'm your therapist. Guys, I feel so good today. I feel so dang good. I just, I've been in a little bit of a funk. I've been super busy and I've been like super tired. So there's been times where I really wanted to record a podcast episode in the last couple of weeks and just didn't get to it. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not always because I was busy. Some of the times I just needed to take a nap in between, clients, in between projects. And I've been so crazy overwhelmed with I'm an overthinker. I'm just going to go out and say it. I'm an overthinker. I overthink things, especially there's this new venture I'm getting into where I'm expanding my services. I'm doing therapy, but I'm also going to be doing some mentorship and some groups and some workshops. And so there's a lot of things to be able to overthink. But I'm back. I feel amazing. I feel it's just a new beginning. And this is awesome. So guys, this podcast, right? I want to do a little bit of rebranding with this podcast. It's a relationship based podcast. It's we're talking a lot about relationship stuff, a lot of what it takes to be in the mindset of creating healthy relationships around you. But that's not it. It's not everything this is. Everyone wants to, I guess, work on their relationship, right? But this isn't for everybody. This podcast is not for everyone. This podcast is for those of you who don't want an average relationship. This podcast is for those of you that want more. It's for those of you that are willing to learn, that are willing to do something different, that are willing to to work towards having an extraordinary relationship with your loved ones, with your partner. This podcast is for those of you that want to get a PhD in relationship skill building, because what you want is a family. You want a family that is just this environment of healthiness, of support. When I think about family, and I'm not the perfect husband or the perfect son or the perfect whatever father, but I strive to be. I think about that a lot. I think about how am I not showing up? What do I need to do to show up better? What kind of conversations do I need to have? How can I make sure that I'm the best father, husband that I can be? Now, sometimes I don't show up that way. Sometimes I do. Actually, I should probably have my wife come on here to tell you the many different ways that I fall short on that. But that's not the point. The point is the aspiration. The point is the ambition, the wanting to reach that high. And that's who this podcast is for. It's for those people, those guys, those females, those people that want to strive for more, for better. And so we talk a lot of different topics in this podcast, but it's all related to wanting to build a dynasty. What's a dynasty? A dynasty. Let me Google dynasty for you guys, because I don't want to mess this word up. And maybe hopefully dynasty is the word I'm looking for. And a dynasty is a line of hereditary rulers of a country. All right, so I don't know if that's the actual one. A succession of rulers of the same line or descent, a powerful group or family that maintains its position for considerable time. So that's what that definition aligns a little more with what I wanted to say. A dynasty. So I don't necessarily need you to rule the world, right? We're not talking about ruling the world or building some sort of tyrannical empire or whatever, but it's about building an empire. It's about like you creating a family that is healthy so that your kids can thrive, so your grandkids can thrive. You change the trajectory of your family financially, relationship wise, relationally. That's not even a word. I promise I got a master's degree. In all aspects, and spiritually, in all aspects, you are the driver of like what your family is going to be. So this is true whether you have a family already, right? Like maybe you don't have a wife or a committed partner or a child yet, but like you want one. Maybe you come from a toxic family like I do, right? And so your goal is to like, okay, I want to change some patterns. I want to free myself from the toxicity so that I can recreate patterns in my relationships, my friendships, my coworkers. But the whole foundation here is talking about, the whole idea that I'm talking about is creating that dream family, that dream life, that like next level type of life, and doing it through your relationships, through your families, right? And so that's what this podcast, and that's what this podcast is. That's who it's for. That's who this, and not everyone is gonna relate with that and resonate with that. I think I'm okay with that because, maybe I'm just not for everybody, and that's okay. There's a million other therapists. There's a million other podcasts out there who, if you're listening to this and you're kind of turned off with what I'm saying, that those ones are for you, right? So that's who this episode is, or this podcast is going to be for. So I just want to really define that, guys. I think like one of the things that's super important, and it's a topic that I want to address today, is like your own life direction. What do you envision for your life? That's a foundational sort of like, we got to get that right before we really like start talking relationships, marriage, and conflict that you're currently in. What do you want? What do you want? What do you really want? And I'll tell you why it's so hard a lot of times to know this. It's probably a question that you don't ask yourself very much, or, it's a question that it took me some like mental sort of reps to start really focusing on what I want, and addressing what I want, and writing down what I want, and creating goals around what I want. But it took me some time to get there. And I was actually unhappy with my life because I didn't know what I wanted. I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew that where I was at wasn't like anywhere. I wasn't going anywhere. I was like, whatever. Like I remember, I've been in school for all my life, right? Like I've been, high school to community college to university to a master's program. And so like when I graduate, like I was like studying a lot, and like there was a next goal. There was a next exam you had to pass. There was a next level of class you had to take. When I graduated, I was depressed. Maybe not in the clinical sense of like, I wasn't like wanting to hurt myself, but I just felt like I had no direction, no meaning, like I was alone. I was lonely. I was feeling just hopeless. I wasn't steady. I was talking to a therapist at the time, and I told my therapist, I'm like, I feel like I'm in a boat in the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I feel like I'm in a boat and I have no oars, no paddles. I'm just in a boat, and I'm like being taken somewhere. No direction, just being taken in any direction the wind went, or and it felt like crap. Like I have no, no place to go, no direction, no way to take myself there. And I remembered like it was such a difficult time and challenging time for me. And that was the moment I started realizing like, holy crap. I've used school as a way to push me, to the next test, push me to the next exam, push me to the next accomplishment. And now I didn't have school. And now what? Now I was watching Netflix, drinking on the weekend, maybe hanging out with some friends, playing video games, playing FIFA on my Xbox One. But it wasn't meaningful. It sucked. Smoking weed. I was smoking weed. It sucked. It sucked. And I had this moment of like, wow, like I have to push myself now. It can't be school. It can't be, I'm doing okay at work maybe, but like there's this other area of my life where I'm just not feeling good. I'm not satisfied. And I didn't know it was because I wasn't striving towards something or like moving towards something, but it was. That's exactly what it was. I've been programmed through school to strive to something, to work on something. There was an essay due, there was an exam I had to do, there was a concept I had to understand. I had to go to class, I had to read a chapter, and now I didn't have that. So that's when I started looking and like, what, how can I reorient my life? How can I take back some of this control and like keep myself accountable? And I started realizing the power of taking control of your life through knowing what you want, how to create goals to get you there, 20-year goals, 10-year goals, 1-year goals, 6-month goals, 3-month goals, 1-week goals, today goals, like how important that is to just keep you guided, keep you going forward. To this day, when I'm not doing that, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going. And it's a horrible feeling to have. To this day, when I do start doing that, I'm feeling grounded. I'm feeling like stable. I'm feeling like, okay, like I know, even though like some things are still scary and like I feel anxious because I'm pushing myself to do scary things. Like, even though I'm doing that, I'm still grounded. I'm still like, okay, I have a direction. I'm stepping forward and there's solid ground that I can step on. And so that's an important part to pay attention to. You have to know what you want from life for you to start really like having a foot to stand on, because that translates later on to what do you want in your job? What do you want? Where do you want to work? How much do you want to make? What do you want out of your relationships from your family, from your wife, from your kids? What do you want your family to look like? What kind of father do you want to be? Like that, the one thing about what you want is the core, and then these like branches are what guides these other decisions. And so I want to really, really hone in on that. Because it's it doesn't seem relevant maybe when you look at it like in little parts, but when you kind of can take a step back and 100-foot view, like you see how it's kind of tied together. Okay, so I encourage you to spend some time journaling. Remember, I'm your therapist. I'm gonna give you some homework now. Spend some time journaling. Right, this is the question. I want you to write down on a piece of paper. What do I want? Why do I want it? Answer those questions. That could take you 10 pages to write out, like, what exactly do I want? And you might not figure it out right away. But the more you ask yourselves, the more you set an intention towards finding what that is, the sooner that'll click for you. Once that clicks for you, you're on the road. Let's get you there, right? So again, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Mr. Therapist podcast. I hope this was helpful in just kind of hearing and understanding some of this concept of like figuring out what you want, how it relates to your relationships. And I want to ask you, remember, if you can comment, if you could rate the show, most importantly, if you could send it to a friend. If this was helpful in any way, send this to a friend. Let them know about the show. I'm trying to reach more people with the show. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. See ya.